Hi, folks, and welcome to the second episode. It's been a while. Episode of Calling BS on Shaw TV's community access programming. I'm Bryan, not Shawn. I'm Bryan, the hockey hipster. This is Shawn, the terror of Twitter, and we are very happy to be on your TV delivering what we believe to be the cutting edge in sports news. Now, how this program works is we have a little timer here that kind of gives us a heads up on how much, and you'll have a timer on your screen right about here. And we want to center our entire show around that timer. So whenever that timer runs out and we're on a topic, that is it. Any discussion about that topic is finished and done, and we move on to the next topic. So every single week, we will talk about 3 important topics for you. And so, starting off with that, we are going to talk about the 3 topics this week, which are the Olympics hockey competition, our surprises and disappointments in this NHL season, and the legacy of one Mr. Derek Jeter, who is going to be retiring after this season. So with that, I am going to hit that start button, and we're going to go. So Olympic hockey, we won.
Yeah.
Yeah, high five.
Like gold member, I love gold. You know, it was a great game. Very interesting getting up at around 6 in the morning and starting to drink then.
I didn't drink, but I did. I got up at 4 because I was trying to go to I went to Tavern United on Pembina.
Oh yeah.
And apparently you needed a reservation. So we ended up just crashing on my buddy's couch and watching it on a 104-inch projector screen.
Nice.
Yeah,
very good.
Pretty good consolation.
Yeah. But yeah, I felt funny thing is, I felt the gold medal game was a bit anticlimactic compared to the semifinal when they beat the U.S. I felt that was a much bigger, more thrilling victory than the actual gold medal game itself.
That game, the Canada-U.S. game, happened to be the biggest 1-0 rout that the world has ever seen.
Yeah, no doubt. They really did outplay them in that game.
Incredibly so.
Yeah.
And you knew that the States weren't going to win the bronze medal game because the Finns have that locked up. It's way more important for some of those guys than it is for guys playing in the NHL.
Yeah, absolutely. The Finns grow up believing that the bronze medal really does mean something. And for countries like Canada and possibly the U.S., at least in that tournament, it looked like it was pretty much gold or nothing. And less than 24 hours after losing in the semifinal, the States had to try and get up for that bronze medal game, a consolation prize game, let's face it. And they just couldn't muster up the intensity.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we just, as Canadians, have to accept the fact that this year, this time in the Olympics, the women delivered us with our hockey moment that we'll remember with that huge comeback over the States in the gold medal game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was interesting, too, for the men's side. I was unsure about some of the picks. I was pretty tough on Jeff Carter, for example.
He played pretty well.
He actually did play pretty well.
And so did Patrick Marleau, I thought. Rick Nash was so-so.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm really surprised at how well that team came together. But the guy that we said that they snubbed and ended up making it onto the team.
Being on the team, right.
Marty St. Louis, and he dominated that gold medal game. He was all over the ice. He didn't score, he didn't get an assist, but the chances he created, he had 5 or 6 quality chances that Henrik Lundqvist just had to basically stand on his head to stop. That game could have been much worse.
It could have been, yeah, exactly. And the thing about Team Canada, too, what impressed me was they may not have filled opposition nets as much as we would have expected them to.
Yeah.
But what a defensive stalwart they were, only giving up 3 goals all tournament.
Yeah.
Like, they gave the opposition almost nothing to work with if you watch those games.
And when they did give the opposition something
they
to
had
work
Carey
with,
Price
they had
to stop
Carey
it.
Price standing on his head.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't end up winning the Olympic MVP. I think Teemu Selanne ended up winning that. But I honestly think you have to give Carey Price an honorable mention. He played so well in that tournament that it just stood on his head.
Well, Drew Doughty was another guy who stood out to me.
God, and how bad was it that our defense scored more than our forwards did?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Drew Doughty might have been our leading scorer in the tournament.
I believe so, yeah. That's the thing about Drew Doughty. Sometimes you'll fly under the radar, but when it comes to the big games, though, he's a big game performer.
He is an incredibly big game performer.
Got 2 gold medals under his belt, a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and if it hadn't been for Jonathan Quick just being a machine in that postseason, I think you know Doughty might have gotten a look for the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, I mean Kopitar had a good playoffs that year too, but Doughty for sure would have gotten a good look. Shea Weber was pretty good too. He actually had someone decent to play with for the first time in a while since Ryan Suter left Nashville. He had Duncan Keith to play with, and they were a pretty good combo as well. And, you know, you look at some of the other teams, too, like Russia, what a disappointment that was.
You know, I think that the biggest problem that the Russians had was that those coaches tried to play the KHL players as if they were equal to the NHL.
Yeah, exactly. And then snubbing Bobrovsky in favor of Varlamov for the big game, for the big quarterfinal game.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm 100% okay with that either. Now, bing, we are done with that topic and moving on to the next topic, which would be our surprises and disappointments in the NHL season. So whoop!
Yeah, so for the Eastern Conference, in terms of teams, Columbus is surprising me. I thought what they did last year was a fluke, quite honestly. And yet here they are in the playoff race once again, competing for a playoff spot, which I did not expect. Sergei Bobrovsky is looking like his Vezina Trophy form once again.
Yeah, he started off really rough, but managed to move into what he is now showing, which is what he was last year, Vezina candidate.
Yeah, and like the team, he was slow and inconsistent out of the gate. He had some injury problems early in the season, but now that he's back and healthy, he's looking like himself again. Another team that surprised me this year are your guys, the Tampa Bay Lightning. I didn't expect them to be this good, quite honestly.
Trust me when I say that I 100% agree with you. I was just expecting Ben Bishop to be another front runner in the line of goaltending mistakes in Tampa.
And that's another one of my surprises this year, Ben Bishop. If you look at that Corey Conacher for Ben Bishop trade, Corey Conacher just got put on waivers by the Senators.
Today.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I think Corey Conacher might be one of those guys that the Jets pick up. Like I was talking about it with a couple of people that I respect in the community, other than yourself.
Thanks.
And they're talking, and I agree with them that the Jets probably aren't going to make a trade this year. They're probably just going to pick a couple of guys up off of waivers, and that'll be it. Although I am hearing a lot of rumors around Setaguchi, and we did discuss them in our last week's episode. But yeah, I agree. Ben Bishop at 6'9", 6'8", however tall he is.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He's a big dude, and he's acting like a modern-day Ken Dryden in between the pipes for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Can you name me 5 players off of that Lightning roster?
Yeah, I think I could. I mean, obviously Stamkos, St. Louis, you got Bishop, Eric Brewer, Andre Palat is another one.
Yeah, Palat's having a pretty good year.
Is.
And BJ Crombeen is actually having a really good year. Goon year. He's having a really good goon year. He's putting the fear of God into some of the players that the Bolts are playing. So it's
Tyler Johnson's having a good season for them too.
Yeah. You know, it's a lot of little contributors, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's a lot of guys that are just meshing as a team rather than a bunch of individuals carrying a team.
Especially with Stamkos missing the majority of the season thus far. You needed guys like that to step up.
Yeah, and how much egg is on the face of the Detroit Red Wings not signing Valtteri Filppula? Yeah,
they decided to go for Stephen Weiss, who was coming off a major injury. They gave him a 5-year deal.
Same amount of the Filppula got the Lightning.
Yeah, very little difference in terms of the money, and he has done nothing for them. And Filppula has been pretty good for the Lightning thus far.
So Weiss would be a disappointment of mine.
Yeah.
Another disappointment of mine, not team-wise but player-wise, would be Ilya Bryzgalov. You know, gets amnestied by the Philadelphia Flyers, gets picked up by the Edmonton Oilers on a pretty big contract. Just got dealt, I guess, not when this airs, but today when we're filming, to the Minnesota Wild, where he's going to be a plateau guy, but he just hasn't really been himself since he left Phoenix.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, Philly is usually the kind of market where goaltending careers go to die, right?
Exactly.
Steve Mason is one of my pleasant surprises this year, so he's an exception.
Okay.
But for the most part, when you see goalies go to Philly, it doesn't work out very well, right?
One more disappointment or surprise that we got time for.
Okay, Dustin Brown, a disappointment.
You think?
Yeah.
All right.
20 points so far this year. That's way off the mark for a guy like him.
Okay, and you don't think that the physical contributions that he's putting into the team, didn't he actually just get traded today?
Dustin Brown?
Yeah. Or no, Dustin Penner, different Dustin.
Dustin Penner, yeah.
Different Dustin.
Yeah.
But Dustin Brown not contributing in your mind.
Yeah, he hasn't been the same since they won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago. He shows flashes of himself, but he's not quite the same, and he got benched for Team USA the last couple of games. So.
All right, fair enough. And so we are done with the timer there. And moving on to our final topic, the legacy of one Mr. Derek Jeter, of course. For those of you that don't know, who probably you should know anyways, shortstop for the last 20 years for the New York Yankees. Most widely known for that absolutely outstanding throw in that the Subway Series, World Series against the New York Mets. A man who is consistently batted over 300 his entire life, consistently has an on-base percentage of .350, 3,000 hits, which is not something most people can boast, and in my opinion, a paragon in an era plagued by cheating and lying. Derek Jeter is absolute beacon of truth and sportsmanship.
Yeah, certainly one of the faces of Major League Baseball, if not the face. The thing is, too, when he came onto the scene back in the late 90s, baseball was going through a rough time at that point. I mean, of course, now you got the performance-enhancing drugs, problems with that. But the strike, too, back in the 90s was a killer for baseball. People had a hard time coming back. And he was like one of those guys who drew people back to fall back in love with the game. He was one of those guys. And for me personally, although I think certainly wearing pinstripes and playing like in a market like New York has certainly helped in terms of garnering his attention and getting the reputation that he has. No doubt that he'll still go down as one of the great Yankee legends and certainly one of the great players of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, in terms of the kind of person that he is and was, I think that while the pinstripes might have helped how people view him as a baseball player, I certainly don't think it hurts or helps how people view him as a person, because people kind of view him and Ken Griffey Jr. as the two guys that brought baseball back, and two of those guys that have the same sort of attitude and integrity towards the game. Neither one of them ever involved in any sort of performance-enhancing drug scandal. Both of them seen as classy, nice people that are good for the game. Both of them incredibly talented baseball players. Unfortunately, Griffey had quite a few injuries that hindered his career. But yeah, and I agree. The man is going to be in the Hall of Fame. He is going to be a Yankee legend. He is going to be talked about in the same way 50 years from now that people who saw the era talk about Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra. You know, he's going to be forever immortalized in the eyes of baseball fans, and I think he should be because of the kind of person he was and how great of a player he was.
Yeah. And what do you think the Yankees' chances are this year? Because I have some concerns about their infield.
Honest to God,
Yeah.
I think it's their World Series to lose.
You really think so?
Oh God, yes. With all of the with all the talent that they've acquired this offseason, with the fact that they picked up that Japanese pitcher Tanaka,
Yeah.
I think it is 100% their World Series to lose.
See, I still have some concerns though, because you have Teixeira, who's coming off major injuries from last year.
He always starts off slow, but he'll be fine. I
Yeah,
think he'll warm up and he'll be okay.
But still, for me, that would be a concern if I was a Yankees fan, which
Okay.
obviously I'm not, judging by what I'm wearing. But Derek Jeter, too, had some injury problems last year. He's a starting shortstop. A-Rod suspended, so
Yeah, but
Robinson Cano is gone. So
Cano is gone, but they added Kelly Johnson to fit in there.
yeah, his long-term consistency is a problem, though.
True. They really like this Nunez kid that they've got.
Yeah.
They got Brendan Ryan from Seattle, who they really like as well. And I, personally, I like Brendan Ryan too. I got to see quite a bit of him watching some Seattle games, and I like him as a player. I think he's going to be okay. So yeah, I think the Yankees have a chance, a real solid chance.
Well, I'm not saying they don't have a chance. I just think it's my pick this year for the World Series, if I could say so right now, is the Detroit Tigers. So,
Fair enough, and I can't necessarily disagree with that. We are out of time, folks. I just wanted to thank you very much for tuning in and watching with us. We always have a blast giving this to you guys. I want to say thank you to our one-man crew for today's show. And just remember to tune in, PVR or otherwise, all of our episodes when you get a chance to watch them, because we will always deliver the utmost best of our abilities for sporting news and cutting-edge talk show. This has been Calling BS on Shaw Community Creations Television. Of course, on Shaw TV Channel 9. If you want to keep in touch with us and listen to some of our more audio podcasts, you can follow us at Calling BS Show on Twitter or subscribe to us on iTunes. Until next week, thank you very much. I'm Brian. That's Shawn. See you later.